Hello everyone, it's Wednesday the 4th of November and there are big things happening in the world today. The beginnings of the results of the American election are looking contested and like there's a lot of turmoil ahead. In our own country, today is the last day that in England people are free to go about not quite as they please, but we go into lockdown from tomorrow and panic buying has happened again and you can't get toilet paper, flour or yeast or pasta or rice or quite a number of other things as we live, maybe selfishly, maybe fearfully, into the unknown of the next month and probably more the unknown of what comes after that. I wanted to talk today a little bit about feeling small. I know I talk about that quite a bit in church and other places, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but I think it's an important theme. 2 weeks ago, I was driving back this morning from the Lake District. The Sunday before that, I had just felt that things had piled up personally and work-wise in a way that I had to get away from. I just needed some breathing space. And I have the privilege of an open invitation from a good friend to borrow her cottage in Bassenthwaite, should I need that anytime I want to. So I rang her and said, can I use your cottage? And she said, sure. So on the Sunday, I packed up and left Rebecca and Lucas here and went off by myself. I need to be on my own sometimes. Many of us do. It's important. That's no critique of my family, who I love very much, or my work, which I love just as much, but my life is balanced by solitude. And that's one of the things that's been difficult in this last time, is being genuinely alone for any length of time. Outside the back of my friend's cottage, there's a little stream and there's a bench, and I sat 2 mornings reading a book on the bench for a while when the weather was friendly. I also went down to the stream the morning before I left and picked up this, which is just a little round, very smooth, flat pebble. It's one of my fiddle stones. I've started a small collection of stones. I fiddle. I'm very not good at sitting still, and or just my hands being still, and so I picked up a stone and I keep one in my pocket. I like flat ones because they fit nicely, and I picked this up. Bassenthwaite is at the bottom of the Skiddaw mountain, or Skiddaw, and Skiddaw is the bedrock of Skiddaw is called Skiddaw slate. It's a composite of a number of different types of rock, all sedimentary rock, and this is probably part of it, which is called grey wax sandstone, but there it is. I wonder how long this pebble had been in the stream. I wonder how far down it had washed, how far it had washed down the mountain in the course of arriving into quite a quiet little placid brook full of ducks when I stepped onto the stones to pick it up. It's millions of years old, that's for sure. Its life, even just as this pebble smoothing over has probably lasted centuries. And there was I, nearly 50 years old, with all of the turmoil inside me, standing on the side of this little stream, picking up this stone and asking it to, over the course of however long it will be before I lose it, which is likely at some point, to be part of me paying attention to the moment. And fiddling actually helps me to do that. It's good to feel small. Sometimes feeling small is uncomfortable, but it's good to know that our lives are transitory and fleeting. And just thinking about the life of the universe, all 13, 14 billion years of it, the fact of human beings being as ascendant as we've been and discovering what we've discovered and making a right mess of the world in as brief a time as we have, a matter of literally a handful of thousands of years. Our place in the universe is so fleeting, so momentary, that it's good to not take ourselves too seriously at the same time as we take lots of things very seriously. So I want to ask you today, what helps you to feel small in good ways? What helps you to not hold your life in a way that is exhausting? What helps it not to feel huge and heavy, even though it is the one life you have, and when it's over it will be over, as is true for all of us. Here's something to do if you'd like to. This evening, if you go outside any time from 5 o'clock onwards when it's dark. Probably best between 5 and 7 because there's some cloud coming if the weather forecast to be predicted. Tonight, if you go out at about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and you look due south from wherever you are, with a fairly unobstructed view of the sky, you will see two bright points of light, one very bright, and then to the left of it a little bit, a slightly less bright one. The large one is Jupiter, and the smaller is Saturn. And it's not very often that they are that close to each other in the sky, or even really in the sky at the same time. The fact of our planets revolving around the sun at different rates means that things don't always line up very well, and we can't always even see those planets at their best when they are nearest to us in terms of their orbits, because that happens for some of us in the middle of the day, and rather than the middle of the night, so we can't see them. But tonight, if you want to, step outside and have a look at Jupiter and have a look at Saturn. If you have a pair of binoculars, that'll help you to see them even better. You might see the rings of Saturn if your eyes are quite good. You certainly will see the 4 major moons of Jupiter. And not that I'm teaching you how to do something or patronizing you in any way, but sometimes using binoculars is tricky when you're looking for very little things. Any object in the night sky, there's lots to see all the time when it's not cloudy. The best thing to do is to look straight at the object and then bring the binoculars to your eyes, rather than put the binoculars to your eyes and then try and find it. That can be very frustrating. So Jupiter's there, and Saturn's there. And when you've had a look at them, if you'd like to have a look at them, through binoculars or otherwise, if you then turn about 90 degrees to your left, you'll see Mars coming up over the horizon on that side. You'll see Mars rising up, and behind it, sorry, my phone rang. And not long behind it, the moon, which is at the moment waning and heading towards 3/4 at the moment. But Mars is there too, and Mars has been not just bright in the sky, but Mars has been almost the closest to us that it can be. It's been in opposition, which means that it's opposed to us in terms of where the sun is, so we get to see it quite closely and quite close up. But of course, it moves away from us quite quickly because it's one of the nearest orbits to us. If I'm boring you, just flick through this bit. But Mars is there too, and you can have a look at Mars. And if your eyes were really good and you knew where to look, not far from Mars, down just a bit to the left of it, is Uranus. Now, again, for perspective, Mars tonight will be 45 million miles away. 45 million miles, and it's the closest planet to us right now. 72 million kilometers. Jupiter is 500 million miles away, 800 million kilometers. And even with a simple pair of binoculars, you still can see some of the detail and some of its moons. Saturn is 900 million miles away, nearly 1.5 billion kilometers away. And Uranus is, again, a third of that on, 1.8 billion kilometers away from us. But we can see them, and they're there, and they are just pinpricks in the sky, but they are still shining brightly far away. And if that helps you a bit to feel small, or just to have seen the rings of Saturn or the moons of Jupiter or Mars in its sort of fuzzy bright red dot for the first time, for another time, maybe for the last time, certainly this side of quite a few years, when the 3 will be in the sky together again reliably at this time of year when we can see them well at a sensible hour. Have a look. Just go and have a look. For me, I'm going to spend the rest of today sharing in some thoughts with those who gather at 10 o'clock for our church gathering. I've got some people to see, some calls to make, some things to do. Popping into Aroma, our coffee shop, because we're closing again for a couple of weeks as we just see what the lie of the land is, going into lockdown again. And I'm going to be taking my pebble with me, my bit of grey wax sandstone from the bottom of Skiddaw near Bassenthwaite in the Lake District. And I'll be fiddling with it and turning it over in my pocket or in my hand. And one of the things it will do is remind me that my life is small and fleeting. Small and fleeting. And in every way that today that will help me to know that the things I'm really worried about are very transitory things. Insignificant things. Not unimportant things. But maybe not quite as weighty, not quite as heavy, not quite as momentous. as I might think they are. Who knows what will happen in America? Who knows what will happen here? Who knows what will become of our lives in the next weeks, months, years? But right now, today, we can hold ourselves lightly, we can hold ourselves gently, and we can ask the planets, we can ask the pebbles, we can ask all kinds of things around us to remind us that our lives are small, and embrace that, and accept that. Maybe feel the pain of that, but certainly know that in the midst of all of that, we are still somebody living a particular life, with particular goals, hopes, ambitions, dreams, fears, all that makes us who we are. But that we are essentially tiny. So bless you. I hope you have a good day. If nothing else, enjoy the sunshine. If you don't get out this evening, have a look at the weather forecast. It looks like Friday might be a reasonable day, again, if it's clear, to go out. But Jupiter and Saturn are setting earlier and earlier in the evening from now onwards, so there's limited time for you to have a look at them if you'd like to. And even if you don't, I hope that today is a good day, the best day that it could possibly be on this day in your life, in this world, in this situation, with this coronavirus shaping our lives as much as it does right now. Take care, and I'll be back tomorrow for one more time before the weekend.